10 memories you'll only understand if you grew up in the 1970s. Britain. Life in 1970s. Britain was a unique blend of grit, color, and carefree fun. This was an age of flared trousers, penny sweets, Saturday morning TV, and music that changed the world. Childhood in the 1970s UK wasn't about gadgets or screens. It was about freedom, friendship, and small joys that now feel like treasures. If you grew up in this unforgettable decade, these memories will transport you back instantly. And if you didn't, here's a nostalgic journey through the experiences that shaped a generation. 10. Blackouts and candles. During the power cuts. One of the defining features of life in 1970s, Britain was the power cuts during the miners' strikes and the famous three-day week of 1974. Families often found themselves sitting in darkness as the electricity was rationed, and children had to adapt quickly. At the time, it felt like an adventure. Homework was sometimes postponed, torches became toys, and candles created a mysterious glow in living rooms. Families played board games, neighbors popped round for a chat, and parents told stories by lamplight. Although caused by economic struggles, these power cuts also created lasting childhood memories of the 1970s UK, moments of family closeness in a simpler, slower world. 9. Space hoppers and chopper bikes. Before iPads and PlayStations, childhood in the 1970s, Britain was about outdoor fun and iconic toys. The space hopper, introduced to Britain in the late 1960s, truly became a craze in the early 1970s. Children bounced around playgrounds, gardens, and cul-de-sacs on these bright orange inflatable balls with their big, goofy faces. Even more legendary was the Raleigh chopper bike, launched in 1969 but made famous in the 1970s. With its long banana seat, high-rise handlebars, and smaller front wheel, it looked futuristic and rebellious. It was the dream possession of every child and the envy of every street. Ask anyone who grew up back then, and they'll tell you, owning a chopper meant you were the coolest kid around. 8. Watching Top of the Pops religiously. Nothing captured the pulse of 1970s music in Britain quite like Top of the Pops. Broadcast every Thursday night, it was the highlight of the week for millions of kids and teens. This was the decade of glam rock, disco, and punk. From David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust to ABBA's glittering anthems and the rebellious rise of the Sex Pistols, the show gave children front-row seats to cultural history. Kids argued about who deserved to be number one, tried to copy dance moves, and taped songs off the radio afterwards. For those growing up in 1970s, Britain, Top of the Pops wasn't just a TV program, it was the soundtrack of youth. 7. School dinners with pink custard. School dinners in 1970s. Britain were legendary, for better or worse. The mains were often a challenge: liver and onions, spam fritters, soggy cabbage, or lumpy mashed potatoes. But when it came to pudding, children eagerly lined up for the strange but beloved pink custard. Served with sponge cake, cornflake tart, or jam roly-poly, the pink custard, flavored with strawberry or raspberry, didn't look natural but tasted comforting. These school canteens, with trays sliding across clattering counters, became part of the shared memory of a whole generation. Today, even the mention of school dinners in the 1970s UK makes people smile with nostalgia. 6. Playing out until the streetlights came on. Perhaps the biggest difference between childhood in 1970s, Britain and today was the sense of freedom. Without mobile phones or constant parental supervision, children were free to play outside from morning until night. The unwritten rule was simple: be home when the streetlights flickered on. Days were filled with football in the street, climbing trees, and endless games like British Bulldog, Knock Down Ginger, or Kirby. Summers seemed endless, filled with scraped knees, sunburnt noses, and the sound of laughter echoing through neighborhoods. It was a world where independence was encouraged, and childhood adventures became the stories that shaped a generation. 5. Saturday morning TV magic. Long before Netflix or YouTube, Saturday mornings in 1970s, Britain meant one thing: children's TV. Kids leapt out of bed, bowl of cereal in hand, and glued themselves to the screen. Shows like Multicolored Swap Shop, BBC, launched in 1976, offered cartoons, celebrity interviews, and phone-in competitions, while ITV's Tiswas, 1974 to 1982, was gloriously chaotic, filled with custard pies, slapstick humor, and general mayhem. These programs weren't just entertainment, they were events. By Monday, playgrounds across Britain buzzed with conversations about what had happened on TV that weekend. For those who grew up then, 1970s Saturday morning TV UK was pure magic. 4. The fashion: flares, platform shoes, and tank tops. Fashion in 1970s. Britain was loud, daring, and unforgettable. Flared trousers swished on every high street. Polyester shirts with giant collars came in dizzying colors, and tank tops were layered over patterned shirts. And then there were platform shoes, beloved by teenagers, but a nightmare for ankles. Even school discos looked like fashion shows, with glitter, sequins, and hair sprayed to perfection. Parents knitted jumpers in bold stripes, and many wardrobes were full of clothes that would be called retro chic today. But back then, everyone felt they were strutting in style. 3. Sweet shops filled with penny treats. The corner sweet shop was every child's paradise in 1970s Britain. With just a handful of pennies, you could walk away with a paper bag bursting with treasures. Popular sweets included cola cubes, blackjacks, fruit salads, flying saucers, sherbet fountains, licorice sticks, and gobstoppers. Behind the counter, rows of colorful jars lined the shelves, each one a temptation. The ritual of pointing, weighing, and receiving your sweets in a crinkly paper bag created memories so vivid they can still be tasted today. Sweet shops weren't just shops. They were part of the very fabric of 1970s childhood in the UK. 2. The arrival of color TV. Although BBC Two introduced color TV in 1967, it wasn't until the 1970s that color sets became common in ordinary British homes. Families that had previously only known gray tones suddenly saw the world in dazzling color. Big events like the 1977 Silver Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II were broadcast in vivid detail, and neighbors without color sets often crowded into the living rooms of those who did. Cartoons, football matches, and children's shows took on a whole new life. For many, the arrival of color TV marked the future, arriving in their living room. 1. The soundtrack of the decade. Above all else, what truly defined 1970s? Britain was its music. This was a decade of extraordinary variety. Glam rock with Slade, T-Rex, and David Bowie. Disco with ABBA and the Bee Gees. Punk with The Clash and the Sex Pistols. Pop and soft rock with Elton John and Queen. Children saved pocket money to buy vinyl singles, taped songs off the radio, and danced at school discos to the latest chart toppers. For those who grew up in 1970s Britain, the music wasn't just background noise, it was the very rhythm of life. Even now, hearing those tunes sparks instant nostalgia. Growing up in 1970s, Britain meant power cuts, space hoppers, pink custard, penny sweets, flares, Saturday morning TV, and unforgettable music. Childhood in the 1970s UK was a world of freedom and fun, shaped by culture and community. These memories remain timeless, shining brightly decades later. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.